Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Matterround's Talking Skritt. I am your host, Jim, and we're just basically going to be recapping End of Dragons today. But we do have a special guest to give us a different view on things. He's kind of a specialist on looking at things from the other side of the hype table. But first, let me get into my fellow hosts. She is a writer on MMORPG.com and does stuff on her own stream. Was it MMORly? That's your website.
Yeah, I haven't done anything in there in a while, though. So.
Oof. So,
yep.
There was a roar joke. I had it and I lost it, but I guess that's just
sorry.
A whisper on the wind at this point. So, there's Arlie.
Hi.
And now, his name is John, better known as Dayo around Yak's Bend, and he has a fantastic show for you today. Say hello to Dayo.
Yeah, and you refer to me as a specialist, kind of talking about elite specializations, because warriors getting pistol because they bring the gun show. Ugh. God. I ripped out my earbuds, so I don't even know if you're talking right now. Okay, I can't get it off. I didn't think this through. What were you saying?
You got it. You got to get the tearaway shirts like the 90s wrestling.
Yeah.
Specialized in.
Well, under here I do. It's already sleeveless. It's just I was trying to make it so it wasn't too obvious.
Oh, okay.
I was revealing like ArenaNet was doing.
No.
Oh.
Slowly. With
yeah.
Great trepidation.
With multiple problems and issues, possibly.
Ain't that the damn truth? Now, we're pretty much going to be going over the same stuff we went over with Kroof and ZeKrioX last week, but Dayo specifically has not been really playing much Guild Wars 2 for quite some time.
I can't even tell you when the last time I mean, probably when the last actual new story stuff came out, like when they announced the Living Story recap. Even a legendary didn't intrigue me enough.
So the free legendary amulet and the free Gen 3 precursor didn't really get you interested. Okay.
So,
sure.
I'm pretty much only there for the story at that point, but I know we've talked about it behind the scenes. I don't know if we said it during any of the shows, was my stance on it was leading up to it. Like, unless they announced something crazy cool when, so I was open to it. I was like, I don't know if I'd be willing to initially pay that money to at least continue the story, or
that's fair.
Or I would only be doing that for the story, which it's like,
yeah,
right.
So I guess that's the first place to start is with the story. Like from what you saw of the trailer, what do you think about what you saw?
I'm intrigued. I haven't really gone to watch other people's like speculations on it, but I do have a couple questions. So, of course, and for people that haven't watched them yet, I mean, I've finally caught up to it at this point. You should be there, and they're only trailers, so it's not like it really can spoil the story.
I was gonna say, what are you doing? Watch the minute-and-a-half trailer, like.
Yeah.
I was about to say I'll just put the trailer back up, but I didn't think we'd need to use any of the assets, so I didn't set up a 3-camera for the side panel yet. So I'm just gonna not do that.
Fine.
Well, I mean, we see what and I think you guys told me. Yeah, chat. Oh, we'll definitely get to that, and that's some of my worries is. So we see, and people have said they've confirmed it, but when I went and rewatched the thing, did they confirm it off air that was my trend indeed?
Oh,
the Aether ship?
Yeah.
Oh.
They said it during the show, even.
They did?
They said something about, I don't know if you noticed, my trend.
Who's that standing next to my trend?
Is that what he said? Okay.
Yep. Because I initially didn't notice her in it, and he said that, and I was like, wait, what? What the hell? And then the voice actor came up and was like, I'm the voice of my trainer. And I was like, okay, seriously, what's happening? And I had to rewatch it and be like, oh.
Okay, because I remember them talking about the Acern. Maybe I just didn't hear them say my trend, but
yeah. Yeah, it was definitely said during the episode.
And
Though.
Nitrin hasn't changed her look in over 8 years. I mean, she's been in the mist. Do we know that there's a wardrobe? Like, there, you know, you'd have to go to the PvP area to go to the wardrobe thing to change her look. So, but
I mean, she might not be trapped there the way what's her face is trapped there. Below Azura.
Did they say the untimely death of Hork? I did not hear any of that, but like I said, I listened through it the one time. Maybe I just missed that, but
I thought we did kill Hork in the thing.
Well, and that's what the chat's saying is like quoting him as saying the untimely death of Hork. Okay, that's why I was confused, because I didn't think he did say my Trin the first time, but I must have missed the Hork thing. Because I thought he said something about like the Aether Blades, which, I mean, obviously, for anybody that kept up with the story, which it would have been a crime if they were just like off the side, my Trin died and it's some new person. So I'm glad they kept her around. But okay, then thanks for clearing that up, chat. I was a little confused when I listened to that, because I was like, I didn't hear any mention of my Trin deliberately, but
well, thanks for the plugging of that particular gap, Morngorst. Appreciate it.
Not Goric, Horik. Horik was the guy when you fought her in the thing.
With the cannon.
Yeah, he had the cannon.
Which is, why is that not a skin yet? Ain't it?
You just really want to use a cannon. Is that what would get you back in the game, Dayo?
Maybe.
New weapon type, cannon.
Cannon elite spec. Ain't it? Make cannons cannon.
Well, at least you're not on the double shield thing.
We're not there yet.
I really don't understand why people are so gung-ho for double shield, but...
Come on, we're in the age of post-Captain America. Spoiler for that. Throwing the shield stuff. We got this. Double shield. Ooh, cannon elite skill.
Yes, Horik. Horik was my Trin's first mate.
But
way back
who
when.
I'm pretty sure we murdered him during that instance. So.
Yeah, no, we basically, because I think that's what makes her kind of give up.
Yeah.
But and more than likely, since the only person we take back into a prison cell is her, so doesn't show that we probably took him alive.
No, we fought them and she gave up and we're like, okay, Hork, you can go do whatever. We're taking her though.
You're free to go.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe his spirit is in the mist and he's like now mad at that Asuran who's now her second command. He comes out of the mist and he's our ally now. I already figured out End of Dragons. Okay, we can wrap it up. Horik is the hero we needed.
Anyways, we've gone far afield.
Spirit cannon. Oh wait, sorry, what?
Yeah. Go back to the End of Dragons trailer.
I was just trying to kind of keep track of who was talking to who, because I feel like if you listen to, because they did a nice thing when it first started, they played the first trailer that was, and it sounded like the voice that talked to Kunavang was also, and the voice of Kunavang, which I'm assuming is from the first trailer. I mean, it'd be weird if they just randomly name dropped Kunavang and it wasn't either the people in the conversation, but it seemed like Kunavang was talking in the second trailer at the beginning about like when they were showing Aurene and saying like, oh, like it, I forget the exact wording, but like their other half type thing.
Yeah, like it's familiar but different.
Yes. Which I'm wondering if that's how maybe this plays out, is like kind of going along with the Cantha theme, or even like the Eastern type thing of like yin and yang. Like maybe that's how it's going to have to quote unquote find the balance, is maybe between Kunavang and. But what also interests me was all of a sudden that other voice, which I think a lot of people assumed was Bubbles, in both of these trailers, was turned immediately to, I think it's my Trin's voice that's talking about like, who are you talking to? And they're like, never. It was like, never mind. And she was talking about and this is what intrigued me the most. She said at first something about like the history about me. I mean Cantha. I was like, I feel like I feel like, and I hope she kind of continues that the thought process of, it felt kind of like what Scarlet was kind of like.
Yeah.
Like she thought she was doing it for everybody, but in reality, like, she even slipped up a couple of times, like saying it was like for her, but she was like, no, I'm doing it for everyone. It's not just me.
I think that was something Mathanis had brought up last week too, is that whole part reminded him of the Kate one day you'll see you needed me thing.
Yep, I can't. I'm still holding out for that.
I am, and
words
now
on the back of the schematic.
The problem I'm having now is I'm having flashbacks to like World of Warcraft story when it's just like, this character was secretly a dragon all along, and I'm just like, I'm really hoping that Mother is not secretly an NPC that we have just been kind of chilling with this whole time.
Yeah.
You know what letters in Mother? E.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
No, I'm kidding.
I knew you were going there.
But I'm curious if that's where End of Dragons will go, or where the expansion will go, or whatever. After the expansion, that's where it will go, is because we've heard, like, we heard Kralkatork talk, like, cry out to, a mother figure. But I'm wondering if they're, because that's the other thing, is they're referring to this as the cycle is reborn, which doesn't necessarily mean it occurs the same way again, or anything like that. It could be totally different. And I've always liked the idea of, originally, like, early on, they wanted Guild Wars 2 to be about like angels and demons more so than, like, at some point apparently they shifted to, like, there was some like interview I remember reading on like a wiki or something, like that was like a early on, like, I think even before they did Eye of the North, like, that was supposed to be like the tail end of Nightfall, if the story was going to continue, whereas was it Eye of the North and everything else kind of started gearing it towards dragons and stuff like that. But I wonder how much of the cycle will change. Is it going to be because, I mean, granted, we're still not 100% sure what the cycle technically is. I mean, we know the cycle of dragons eat the magic and go to sleep.
Well, I'm assuming
does that mean
leech it out and then they wake up and eat it again?
But I mean, are the gods somehow connected to that, or was this going to be after this a big fight
that gets into a whole thing about, like, the difference between, like, the human gods and the Norn spirits and all of that, because my understanding is the human gods weren't part of this world, like, really entirely. Like, I don't know how they fit exactly, but they're not necessarily part of the normal
the human
cycle.
gods came through the mists with humanity, if I recall correctly.
Basically. Yeah. And that's why I think when we were told that the reason that they left was because the dragons were awaking, and them being there at the same time with the dragons would cause calamitous effect. So, like, the human gods are not part of the normal cycle of this world. Whatever it is essentially what we've been told thus far.
Well, and I think, in reference to that, like you said, I think the human gods were gods or entities that absorbed a lot of this excreting magic to turn them into gods and whatnot.
It's a word.
Excreting.
Yeah. But
I'm excreting
other groups have their version of god, like the gods that seem like they dabbled with that magic. I mean, that's
yeah.
So I just think, they chose whatever got enough of that magic to become powerful enough. So I'm wondering if later on, not necessarily quote unquote the gods returning, but a group of humans or a group of this race or that race that are going to try to be like, we need control of this magic to become the next gods or what have you.
Well, that's kind of part of my. I'm sorry not to interrupt you, Malthanis, but part of what my theory is with the part of their uses of the jade, dragon jade stuff, jade dragon stuff, dragon jade, whatever. Dragon jade. Okay. Was I was thinking it's kind of playing into that. At least for some of the Canthons, I'm sure it's not all of them, but the ones messing with it, I think part of it is trying to figure out how to take control and use this thing to better themselves in a way that puts them in a position of power, maybe over and less at the whims of the other forces in the world. If that makes sense. Not just like the other races, but like, the dragon, stuff like that.
And I've always thought about it. I'm curious because, like I said, I want to see if this goes beyond that. Is because we have my trend coming from the mist, which is basically we're finding that as almost a way to continue your existence. I mean, granted, my trend physically did it, but we're seeing characters come back or like play it like a part because it's like an echo of them or something like that.
How many times how many times have we seen air after her death?
Exactly. It's
well,
like
we only saw her once.
At least twice.
How's that? Well,
the only time I remember is when she came out of the mist to tell us Krakator was eating the mist. And we needed to do something about that.
Well, isn't that the one where we defend that one area and she pops up with was it Snaff?
Yeah, yes. Her and Snaff come through
then
to tell us.
Don't we side with Glint to detonate the mists or something like that? And I thought she was in there as well.
Right, but that's all just part of one time. She was there for that thing.
Oh, okay.
Like, she's not like she's been popping in and out of the mist.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, she's not there constantly. But,
okay. I was like, wait, what?
You didn't go back to her home in Holbrook?
It's definitely greater than the 0 amount of times I was expecting to see her. So
Right. Okay.
But and I really want to go back to if there's going to be a strand of this alternate reality type thing that we see a little bit from the Asur and personal story with the one time device invention that I think you pick if you pick that route. Because you get like a version of yourself from a dystopian world. It's like, is my trend coming back to, I think how they word it in the trailer is like save us from ourselves type thing, or it's like, does she have the answer? Did she somehow cross to this other dimension? Or
I clearly have to create more Asura characters because I think that's the personal story that I have the least amount of experience with.
Same.
Because that sounds ridiculously cool.
Yeah, you actually fight yourself from an alternate reality.
Okay.
But and it seems very like steampunky. I mean, which is not hard to do with a certain tech. But it's like it kind of is a feeling of like this could have been the Aether Blades. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, I wonder if that's the whole idea of like what Kaith was trying to go after, or maybe if Scarlet was successful with everything, it would have been that dystopian future or something, which now my trend's trying to pick up those reins again.
Well, that was also one of the things we talked about a little bit last week was we never, like some of the alliances we understood, at least in hindsight, a little bit about why they were working with her or each other, even though it seemed like making no sense at the time. Like in hindsight, we can kind of see it because we know more about all the things. But I don't think we've ever gotten anything real clear about what the Aether Blades were trying to accomplish or my trend. Like before we ever got to talk to her very much and get any clarity on things, she absconded. So I'm curious about if she's continuing what she was trying to do originally with them or if she's going in another direction.
And like I said, I'm curious to like once again, they drop this stuff about a new expansion. I'm curious about what happens after.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they're sick of the dragons too. I want to know what's happening after these dragons. But no, I'm definitely curious because it's like what's left. Like if we do find balance between what I was thinking, Arene and Kunavang,
Mm-hmm.
Because it feels like Bubbles is somewhat manipulating my trend, whether she's on her side or not, or what's going
Mm-hmm.
on there. I'm still curious.
Right.
Because then it would feel a little too much like Scarlet 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, the Aether Blade leader is now being
Right.
controlled by another Elder Dragon. Okay, what
I I hope that they're trying to take some care to not go that way with her, because it would be really easy to do that again.
yeah,
Even if
and
it wasn't like making her crazy, you could still essentially redo all of that.
I would like to say I appreciate the both of you for like just giving me the trust that I can leave the both of you talking about the story for however much amount of time, and you'll just go.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. As soon as you said that, I was like, oh, trust me, I got plenty to. You can go for about an
like
hour.
that's. I was actually thinking about like us moving forward a little bit and then coming back to story, because I know from previous stories and even way back in the almost 300 episodes ago when we were talking about the start of Heart of Thorns and like the number of times that we were looked at and be like, you have to stop the show now.
Mm-hmm.
because Dayo would just keep going.
All right, well, I mean, I got to do it for the people here since I'm returning. Is like my question is, after the dragons are like either put at bay, like I said, maybe the whole yin and yang thing with Kunavang and Arene, but maybe we focus on the cycle that's slightly bigger than that. Is what pushes that cycle is the potentially the magic, like going in and out type thing, which then I got like a cliche like thing of like, oh, kind of like they always like to equate it to nature, like with like Eastern like philosophy is like, it's like, oh, it would be going in and out like a shore, like water on a shore,
like tide.
yeah. But I'm wondering if the next thing would be we would deal with maybe Mother, who kind of is like, maybe we find out she potentially is pushing the dragons to do this whatever, that goal. But during the other cycle where we knew about the gods, who was the one behind it all that was trying to push it?
There it is.
Until he was killed.
There it is. There it is. Okay.
That doesn't really work out for gods a lot of times.
So I suppose that's a really great way, because I know I brought this up during one of the weekday streams, is talking about Revenant legends and bringing up Abaddon as a Revenant legend, which leads us pretty well into the elite specializations. Now, Dayo in chat, which people who were watching in chat saw that he has a lot of things to say about this whole breaking the mold kind of thing.
Yeah,
Which
I just love how people have run to its defense.
Yeah,
using it as like the tentpole argument.
Right.
But I swing a sword.
Exactly. It feels like it's the new MMO manifesto thing, which, like, it feels like go
Colin's
play a game.
back.
When
He can do that.
It's all Colin. No, I'm kidding. It put a smile on my face when they, switched over. Which actually, I know I talked to Hat about this at the when they first did it was, leading up to the stream, instead of doing the countdown and showing like them setting up for the show, they just did basically creating some of the art and stuff.
Showing
I thought
time
that was
lapse
awesome.
of the art. Yeah, that was amazing.
I thought that was awesome, and it kind of reminded me of who was I forget her name, that did a lot of the art for the Sylvari. I forget her. I don't think she works anymore. I think she was one of the people that went with Mo and stuff like that.
Oh,
I
think, was it? Oh my god, I'm gonna murder her name because I can see it, but I think it starts with a T. If it's Tira or Tyra or something, yeah, like
chat,
that.
help us. It's is it Teresa Bauer?
I don't think it's Teresa.
No. Okay, I'm trying to
No.
think of. Anyway, I'm sure chat will once they catch up. But I think there was like one time, I don't even know if it was on the actual Guild Wars 2 channel or maybe her personal channel, where she actually sat there and like showed like doing the art for it. Yeah, tears. It might be
Tirza?
that then. But she was doing the art and just like talking like that. I was like, yeah, I wish they would do more of those, even like how we all like the guild chat, like where they talked about like behind the scenes stuff. Like, so it kind of reminded me of that, just no person there fielding question or like just chit chatting about their reasoning behind the thing. But so I really like that they did that. But oh, going back to, it's like, I'm not saying it's all Colin's fault. Like I said, it put a smile on my face when they cut to like the first scene and it's Ruby talking, and then it was basically Colin like sitting there with everybody loves a smile. I was like, oh, this is a different kind of nostalgia. I miss this. So, but I think we also talked about this in the past, was especially it seemed like he doesn't want to be the face of Guild Wars 2 type thing. Like you could definitely tell he wasn't. They probably deliberately
It wasn't
didn't
centered
keep
on
him
him.
there. Yeah, they deliberately didn't keep him throughout there, which I'm sure that's what he wanted and was. So,
But to talk
which is
about
good.
the breaking conventions thing,
Yeah,
we chatted a little before the show about, but like we were saying, it's good because it gives them a lot of room to shake things up and change things, but they also didn't define it at all, which
Right.
can lead to people
being
expecting the
disappointed.
moon.
Well,
Yeah.
So right now the only example of breaking convention is the fact that the Virtuoso, the Mesmer Elite spec, has no clones.
Right.
They
Which
just
is
have.
that's the thing is I'm curious of people's thoughts. Is don't you feel like that's a problem, because at that point then there is no identity to the professions?
Well,
Like,
not necessarily, because they still have phantasms.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the thing that I think they did really well is they got rid of the clones, but they managed, to me at least, from just the small bit we saw. But the thing about mesmers is they're supposed to be like about illusions and like manipulation of various things, like chronomancer manipulates time, various things like that. And the Virtuoso, those daggers are all like those are not actual real daggers, but the way they designed them to me reads very clearly as mesmer. Like if I saw daggers like that on any other profession, I would be like, wait, what? That doesn't make sense
Why are
because
they
just the
doing
way it's
the
done.
Mesmer thing? Yeah.
Right. So like I think they're trying to hold on to, at least with that one, they were trying to hold on to the core of what makes a mesmer, but play with it a little, which can get tricky as you move into some of the other professions that are maybe less defined in a certain area.
That and it's not like they're throwing out one of the weaknesses of a Mesmer in competitive content, because I think the only one of the F1 through 4 skills that wasn't a projectile was the F4, the block. It's not a distortion effect, it's a block, but it's also a full channel. So while you're holding the block and you're still doing AoE damage around you, but you're holding it. So the other three are all projectiles, and on a grand scale, the Virtuoso seems to be very projectile based, and there's a lot of projectile hate in PvP modes. You got Poison Cloud from Necros. You've got literally half of a Guardian's kit, which works in PvP because players can't throw bears. Dayo's still mad about that. I can see it.
Yeah.
But so people are talking about you've seen
I didn't think you wanted this to be a 3-hour show if you keep bringing that kind of stuff up.
So people are talking about the teaser that they've been doing, the dual sword something. People are fairly certain that it's going to be a Guardian spec, because it looks, well, I do fully agree with people, is that the helm and the boots look like the Warlord armor, the PvP ranked armor set.
So, like, let me just throw in real quick. What I was working on before show is I was going to put together this whole thing because I knew that I remembered there are light boots that can have a very similar outline. And I was going through the other armor pieces and I got boots matching. There's not really any defining in the torso to go off of. I found gloves, even like gloves that make the same kind of like knobby things on the arms. Like it was very close. Part where I got hung up on was I could not find a light helm that looked like
Yeah.
that.
The
Which
light
is
helm
possible.
is
Yeah, I was gonna say it's possible that it's a skin that we haven't seen before,
I was
which
just gonna say
can
we.
exist.
Yeah.
But given that, from what we do know, I understand like the focus on heavy because
And
that
I
makes
did see some people say they lightened up the silhouette and they saw out like, which surprised me because I know last week when Jim, when you're getting assets, I think you even talked
Mhm.
about it during pre-show where they hit like some of the like they named them something so you couldn't even tell what each of them were type thing.
Yeah, I did right click inspect on the elite spec icons, and they're literally just named Icon 1, Icon 2. It's not
Which
like
I'm
they named the
surprised
assets
they
anything.
went that far, but it was so easy for someone to lighten up the image so I don't like I was
Well,
like,
but so the thing is lightening up an image. If you all you have is the end product of it, you don't necessarily have all the information in that image. It could just be that silhouette. So when you lighten it up, it's possible that what you're seeing as a result isn't what's actually there.
mhm.
That isn't like a 100% process, especially if they went through any trouble to make it like, you know,
Well,
as
And yeah, that's basically my point of casting doubt on like I think that's where a lot of people found the evidence was
Mhm.
clearly this. I was like, that's not
well, that and like
perfect.
how many times did I talk about the virtuoso silhouette, where the forward pointing fingers, like the pinky ring and middle finger look like, just because of the way that the silhouette was done, it looked like tassels for the butt of a
Mhm.
spear. So it was
Our brains like to see that kind of stuff.
right. So I know, like, finding that, thinking about it now, like, my only thought for Guardian is to make something more selfish. Like, that's my only thought that could be breaking the mold for Guardian, because every
Yeah.
spec about Guardian, it's just you're throwing out boons and healing and support and CC. Like, did the color of the silhouette not matter?
Chat, we're talking about I think the one that had the dual swords. I don't think it had anything around it.
So what it is on the helmet
Oh, on
there's a little spot of blue, there's a bunch of red, the gloves have some red highlights, and there is a little bit of red on pants and the leg. If you look at the picture.
Scrolling back through the Twitter feed right now.
Oh, well, I linked it in our Discord.
Yeah, I
too.
know, I saw
Okay.
that, but I can't click over onto my right-hand monitor without having my
Oh,
cursor show up over people's
right.
faces on the...
Yeah.
Yeah, like, it's incredibly inconclusive. The stuff they have on there is, like, there's no colored background.
What's the point, you know?
Yeah. Some kind of octopus monster face. Yeah, I can see that with the... Because, like, you're getting the...
Wait, we're getting a Cthulhu spec? Okay, I might be back.
Yeah. But that's my only thought there, is I'm hoping for something like that's the farthest I'm hoping for, like, breaking the mold here, is I want Guardian to be easily balanced because it's not affecting literally everything around it constantly.
Well, here's my question, because I don't know Guardian well, because I think I played my Guardian like 2 days, maybe total.
So more than your Mesmer.
Yeah. No,
Now,
no.
did you
I
try
played my
playing a
Mesmer.
Norm? That helped.
I played my Mesmer for 2 weeks before I got bored and switched to Road or Ranger. So
Well,
I
I'm
did
curious
play
because
it
you
for a
might have
little
the
bit in
same
the very
question as
beginning.
I do because I haven't played my Guardian for quite some time.
My question is one of the things that I think about when I think about what makes a Guardian is their virtues, the F1 through 4 skills.
Mm-hmm.
Does every elite spec have that? And if so, if they did something where you had something different, what would you want to see? Or if they took it away, like how would that work, do you think?
I think so far they've used it or altered it.
To answer your first question, Core, Dragon Hunter, and Firebrand all have virtues. Core, you're really the cooldowns on them don't really incentivize their use.
They're kind of like an oh crap button.
Yeah. Which there was a point in time where I would only ever use them when I hit Renewed Focus, which is the one that makes you invulnerable, heals you to full and fully recharge. So I would literally like hit Renewed Focus because the reset on the cooldowns happens at the end of the channel. I would hit Renewed Focus, hit F1 through F3 for like the burst of healing, the burst of damage, and the Aegis for AoE, and then I'd have all the passives back. Dragon Hunter, the F1 is the spear, and while you're tethered, the target is revealed and takes additional damage, and there's at least one trait that interacts with that. The F2 is the jump, which can be traded to have an attack as part of it, and the F3 is a cone block in front of you, which you can trait to be larger, if I recall correctly.
Okay, right.
They might have removed that. I really don't. I've never used it. And then Firebrand is the tomes.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So
Okay.
every Guardian spec so far has the virtues. Every virtue set is different.
Okay.
So as for what I would want to like if it was going to get replaced, oh damn it. Galaxy brain moment. Give Guardians a protector spirit and have ranger controls.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
And have like the virtues would interact with like the different Guardian spirit things there.
That would be cool.
That's just me coming out of nowhere. I have no idea, like there's no basis for that, but
I like that because that fits into my speculation that part of what they're going for with this is a slight little bit of mixing of classes to give some of that multi-class feel.
And I agree with Chad. Like I'm sure like that. I feel like the dual sword is Guardian. Also for the reason, I mean, Guardian kind of is kind of like the more religious type or based in the faith type thing. We got here. Colin came back. MMO manifesto. I swung a sword and I swung it again. Dual wield. Clearly, all came together.
oh,
Calling it now. I know what you're doing, Ain't. I'm in your head.
oh god, that was kind of painful. I love it.
I feel like I can hear everybody's heads hitting their desk.
Just a little bit. Ham. Exactly, Hat. Exactly.
I was gonna say something. Oh, but so if we're all thinking that that one is Guardian, then I think we should at least consider, because yes, they could just be doing whatever's available and ready to be shown with no like thought to armor type or anything. But if they're doing one light, one medium, and one heavy, which wouldn't be a weird way to do these kind of reveals.
Would be a nice way to everybody get at least their cup of tea. But okay, finish your thought.
Then I really, really, really want what they showed last week. Last week, right? Yeah, last week.
Yeah, at the end of
to be a ranger, like pirate or swashbuckler type thing. The pistol.
Now,
because although I wouldn't want to do anything that has anything to do with a rifle on ranger, I could get behind like a pistol and like a sword or something.
Now,
that could be fun.
Which I was talking about this earlier. Was I could see if we're connecting this to the lore of the area, which I mean they kind of did with POF and like some of the story things. I kind of said like it reminded me for some reason with like kind of like what looked like a bomb type thing or whatever was an explosive type thing in their hand. And
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
it reminded me of the I think they're the Ampha in factions, which was kind of like the gang surrounding the dilapidated area of Caning City, like the kind of
So effectively the Yakuza.
basically, yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, they would just come out of nowhere and just start throwing bombs and crap at you in so many AoE fields. But it would kind of be like fitting if it was like, oh, talking about the, like, if you ever seen screenshots or played Guild Wars 1, like it going through some of those felt like a jungle type thing, which could kind of be an interesting way of saying like they had to be a kind of like I almost said Ranger of the Streets. It's I feel like I should be making a Fox show.
So my first, like, I'm on the reason I started thinking about that image with the green color, like people are like, oh, pistol necro, and I'm like, man, that would be really cool.
And honestly, I thought that at first, but I like how Arlie's bringing it up, and I was like, you know what, that could probably fit that one better. And
that was one of the things we were talking about, because a lot of people were like, is this Bloodborne? And looking at the design, and I'm like, you know what, we've talked a lot about like a Ministry of Purity Inquisitor type character. There's a lot of mention, because I know ZeKrioX talked a bit about it as like a guardian.
I know a lot of people were saying guardian.
Yeah, but a pistol main hand ranger as some kind of inquisitor would also fit. So not necessarily like any kind of pirate, although, you know, now that we've talked so much more about the Aetherblade, you know, ranger gets Aetherblade as its elite spec. So
that would be, oh my god, cool.
I mean, it would fit with like the stuff looking like a bomb. I know the one thing when we were on the show last week, it was discussing necro with elixirs.
Yeah,
because of the potion bottles that they had on their hip. But I do want to bring up one thing that Age Night Road tweeted. We're bringing the gang back together here. Just he's in via text
virtually.
Quote him on a tweet, just putting this out there, the order they revealed the Heart of Thorns elite specs over time with the Meet the Elite Spec blog posts were as follows: Chronomancer, Dragon Hunter, Reaper, Tempest, Herald, Berserker, Daredevil, Scrapper, Druid. So the first revealed was the Virtuoso, the Mesmer elite spec. We're now all mostly agreed that...
So did that happen for POF?
No, because with POF we're just like, it's available now.
Yeah.
And we were all just like...
What about the reveal, like the original reveals of the characters for Core? I'm just saying, let's not just say one thing's a pattern.
I know. Well, that's what I'm saying.
One thing is a tradition. You do it once, it's a tradition.
We have no
Even
guarantee.
Though the next expansion they went back on that tradition.
All we have is a Mesmer was one of the last for Core says hat.
I was gonna say I thought so too.
Yeah.
So it's like
we have nothing but coincidence right now. So
correlation is not causation.
Yes.
Totally
speculation.
Well, it's not that either.
True.
This is elite speculation.
Oh.
The tradition is the art uses the same race gender choices for each class.
Yeah, that is something they have been consistent about, is the but they use Azura for more than one thing too. That's
Can I say
the
it?
other thing.
But they're breaking the mold or whatever the line is, or breaking the rules.
I have to say, I've been saying that because it's fun, not that I actually believe that that's necessarily part of the breaking the rules. A Korean Gat.
Yeah, I do remember, I think Rook retweeted something about that. Let me see if I can find that.
I know a lot of people were thinking, like, kind of while you're looking that up, the kind of like an what was the term you were using, the imperator or whatever, or like basically for Inquisitor for Guardian, that would probably like use like flame or like based off of the Winds of Change or the which I don't see it. I know people linked the images because they were also thinking the elite spec that had the mask type thing, the face mask, was going to be for that. And they were linking a art that was done for what's the group in the Winds of Change? Oh man, I knew it like 2 seconds ago, and now chat, help me out here.
I just linked the tweet from Rook with the reference for the Korean Grim Reaper. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce the name in Korean because I will murder the pronunciation. So I'm not going to do it.
One thing also chat has said was that Mesmers are usually female Norns. Is that right? I thought they were humans usually.
Well, I guess it might be tough to like just maybe a bigger female. Like I don't know. I never really noticed the difference.
Isolated, it's hard to tell the difference. Seriously.
Yeah.
Is she wearing bunny ears?
No.
Okay, then it's not a human female.
My human female does not wear bunny ears. Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
my Azure wears bunny ears.
The reading glasses for every single human female you play.
Only
so
one.
Yeah, people were thinking the Ministry of Purity just because of all like with the Guardian and like an Inquisitor type thing, and there was art that was done there that showed like someone with swords and like a one of the zealots, and
right.
I think people saw like the face on there, but since it was all gray, that was the actual person's face, and they were holding up like the well-known Ministry of Purity's face mask. So I was like, it really doesn't hold up. I mean, I truly think the one that's the face mask might be some kind of like Shogun style, maybe for like great sword thief or something like that. I could see.
I can. The one thing that I've always wanted for thief is going to be some kind of like bruiser spec. Like I want something that is far less focused on stealth or maneuverability and something that is far more in your face. But I don't know if they'll necessarily do that. If they're breaking the mold, breaking conventions with thief, well, that would be pretty cool. Now, we've talked a lot about what oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say you might like this because for the Elementalist, like I agree with you guys. You were talking about last week that one that looks like a jewel with like bigger flames behind it or something like that. Definitely feels like for the same reason you guys were saying was because like the starter jewel thing that they get and all
the
that.
Little, like elemental gem.
I'm just wondering if that might be where we see like a Ministry of Purity type class as the fifth element, because kind of the same thing I was talking about with like the Ampha, like kind of lore surrounding Cantha itself, is that's how the Ministry of Purity kind of stemmed from, was they had, what was it, the Celestial Council or something, like it was basically like a governing body based off of the different elements. Like the Ministry of Fire would control certain political things, the Ministry of Water would do, each element. In Winds of Change, one of the people from the Ministry of Fire broke off and created the Ministry of Purity. So I was like, I could see that stretch of it, because that's where that came from. So maybe I don't know, maybe you get as an elementalist the purity line, where maybe it's more fire type, like maybe it's more fire stuff, but maybe you can heal people with your fire.
That'd be cool.
Or I don't know, or something. I don't know. I could see that being where the Ministry of Purity might fit in more so than the Guardian one.
So I suppose my question here is the amount of doubt you cast on the breaking convention thing, just kind of get people to reel things in. Like currently, all we have is that we've lost that there are no clones on Mesmer. Okay, it's not too crazy yet. I would like to hear your thoughts on pick a class and just go bonkers. What
crazy thing you want to see?
Yeah. Despite me saying, Abaddon Legend from Revenant, but would Abaddon Legend for Revenant get you back in the game?
I don't know. That would hurt because it's like it's there, and honestly, I don't think that will happen. Mainly because we have Malix.
Yeah.
We basically have if they did Abaddon, it'd be like the elite spec, because honestly, if you think about it, Shiro was in some form or fashion a
minion of Abaddon.
Like a soldier, like he was manipulated by one of his lieutenants. Malik
Okay.
was, I mean, pretty much directly there. So it's like, I feel like they've already danced around that, and I don't think they would just go straight to. And it's also kind of activating a god, because I would assume they would take him from the form of the god version of Abaddon and not the non powerful version before he got his powers. It'd be interesting from a lore perspective, but I don't know. We don't know how powerful he was because we know the lore tells us that there was someone that he had a predecessor, or he got the powers from someone else. So what if Revenant channeled Raza? I would love to see Raza kind of pop in, since we're kind of dancing around the mists more and more, and especially since my trend's popping back out of it. It feels, I mean, we talked about this way back, but when they first announced Revenant, I said Raza was the first
Tavic's right, Dayo.
Revenant.
They're not gonna give us an Abaddon legend if they're gonna bring him back.
And that's the other thing. I wouldn't want to see it, mainly because that probably means it wouldn't, happen, which everybody knows it will.
Well, everybody wants a great sword for Revenant, but I think everybody wants a great sword for every spec at some point. Just because great sword is
right.
Who wants?
I don't want great sword.
Who doesn't want to use a giant sword, right? You just want to use a regular sword.
Two-handed dagger.
It's a two-handed dagger. Listen, we already had enough of that in a Legend of Zelda with the giant's knife. We don't need any more of that.
And I saw chat saying, dual shield. I know people are against this, but come on, we live in an age past, Captain America. We saw a little bit of it with the Engineer. Come on, we can whip those around like a weapon.
We have yet to see an offhand become a main hand. Now I realize that is breaking convention. But anything that is dedicated as an offhand has not become a main hand.
If you weren't gonna say it, I was gonna shout it, because I feel like that's how the internet is at this point. Every time there's a discussion on Reddit or the forums, count how long it takes until someone uses that as their reasoning behind it. But
right,
you're breaking conventions. It's like I really feel like that's the new MMO manifesto.
It's like
they said.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say, I do. If we do see an offhand become a main hand, I really, really like the idea that we had last week of a focus becoming a main hand for a warrior and punching people with it. That would just be hilarious.
I would like that.
Wonderful.
Oh my god, I would like that, because I would instantly make a Norn warrior and just have.
I thought you already had a Norn warrior.
If I did, it was for random reasons.
Oh,
but
okay.
No, my main warrior character, because I mean, they keep giving you one free character slot, so I probably have a goof off warrior that's a Norn. But no, my warrior that I originally made was a Sylvari. So
okay.
But oh man, if I could run around with dual Ambrosias, life would be complete.
Like Dayo would just be done. Like I get to punch people with steins of beer.
Yes. There you go, Aina.
Dust up.
That will bring me back, or Abaddon. The first one might be easier to implement.
Yeah. We'll see more next Friday. In which case I'm going to have to scramble to make sure I have 3 people on the show that are intimately familiar with the classes that we get for the first beta event. Yeah. Oh god, this is why. See, Arlie, the reason I was hoping desperately for it to just be all light armor for the first run is because between the two of us, we've got Elementalist.
Right. Yeah.
So got that. And, well, see, I can cover Guardian too, Zek. It's just Like,
Well, but if it's Mesmer, Ranger, Guardian, then we just need to find a Mesmer.
we need to find a Mesmer, yeah, which they're notoriously difficult to
Or
find.
you can always, I mean, we're basically live broadcasting a meeting type thing, but you can always say, hey, none of us are main it, but did it interest you? Did it make you play? Did it break the convention? Like, were you scared by it originally, but the conventions were shattered like the Mesmer clones, and now you're playing it? Ain't you need someone from marketing team? I'm here.
I need to like pat you on the head.
Listen, Dayo is inundated, is steeped in the showmanship of professional wrestling. If you need a hype man.
Oh, we talk about wrestling now? Oh man, it was a shame what happened to Bray Wyatt.
No.
No? Oh, okay. Sorry.
Who? Never mind.
No.
Anyway, we're gonna have to slow the conversation way down. Just bring it way down, because we have to move at the speed of the next topic. Turtles.
Yay!
I don't know if you heard this, but I like turtles.
So I have to say I have zero experience with the Siege Turtles from Factions.
Same.
I have no experience there. The turtles, they showed the tiny little baby turtle in the show, which they had the tiny little model, and we're apparently going to be raising the turtle. But Dayo, how does this stack up to the way Siege Turtles were?
Honestly, I don't remember Siege Turtles.
Okay.
Oh.
Honestly, and that's my problem, and I guess we'll talk about it like as a lump sum thing. Is honestly, when they announced Cantha, I was immune to that because I wasn't a fan of Factions. I was kind of met on it.
Yeah.
So,
well,
if you guys couldn't tell, Nightfall was my jam.
Yeah. well, if only because somebody steals your thunder at the end. You could have been the god of secrets, Dayo.
That part. Okay. Up until that point,
you could have carried on the legacy, Dayo, but somebody screwed you over.
Ooh. Yeah. I wish I would have had Siege Turtle for that moment. I would have blasted the crap out of her.
But so, yay, another mount, I guess. We're getting.
I was gonna say, like Chat's saying, that's the only thing I remembered by him, where you were basically protecting Siege Turtles for one of the missions. I wasn't a PvP player, so I didn't know if they ever used them as an actual vehicle, because Guild Wars 2 or Guild Wars 1 really didn't have vehicles, so that's why I was like, I don't remember them all that much. But
I don't have anything to add that I haven't already said last week.
Turtles.
It's turtles. I like turtles, but I guess we're still keeping things aquatic, ish,
amphibian,
and we're still keeping things very, very chill.
Wait, are you skipping the top? Oh, I meant skipping the topic.
Yes, because
of turtles.
You have nothing to add about the Siege Turtles, because I mean
there wasn't much to them, like Chat saying.
Yeah. There's not even what we know right now. There's not much to talk about them, so we don't even know if we're going to be able to mess with them in the beta. So now you said you had some thoughts about the whole fishing thing. Also, people are going to have to deal with the weird lighting on my face as I lean back in my chair because my back is killing me, and I'll fix that in 5 minutes. But so yeah. you had some thoughts about fishing. It seemed like.
Well, I think it's like the lump sum thing of, like I said, with the Cantha and all that stuff is, and my dogs are totally irritated by it, is I feel like this is a super cashing in on nostalgia, memes. Like, I'm worried that it's cashing in on the fan base more so than potentially a good game. And granted, not seeing anything. Right now, that's my worry. That was.
What do you mean cashing in on the fan base? Like, what do you mean by that?
Well, because like the memes that we're going to Cantha, we're finally doing that. Loads of people always talked about getting fishing. We're finally doing that.
Oh,
and like the boating thing, feels like a natural successor to that, or I felt like that when they did the mounts, which granted they did make them a little bit their own. And I know you guys were talking
A
about
little bit, a lot.
well, and I know you guys talked about that last week of like they do a good job by taking things and making it a unique thing for some things. But I mean, can we say their version of raids? Like, I mean, you know, I'm not, and I'm just saying, let's show the realism of this. Of yeah, they've had successes with certain things, but they've also had failures. But and that's any company. I'm not going to say it's only ArenaNet and their failures. Or
to ArenaNet's credit about the whole thing with rating, I think the thing that screwed ArenaNet over the most with rating is the expectations that the player base brought into it.
Yeah.
Like that was the like.
Well, but it's also Arena. I think Arena also would try to say the most challenging and stuff like that, and like they even said that with like when they were talking about the strike missions and adding challenge modes.
Yeah.
They were talking about how it's like, oh, gonna be the most challenging thing, and I'm like, ooh, careful. I was like that's the same, like, you know,
yeah.
It just strikes back to me of like the SWOTOR moments of like, you know, oh, people aren't gonna beat our game. They already beat it. Yeah. We need more content. Like, so it's like them issuing that challenge to the player base has never worked for the devs in any game.
You're not wrong there. Yeah, but fishing, I have hope.
Well, like I do too, and I think we talked about this in the past. I don't know if it was an after show thing, but I know we talked about like, oh, it would be cool if like when you're fishing, it would be more quote unquote action oriented. I don't want the people to be like, you know, like a whack-a-mole type thing on your skill bar or something like that. But also, what if you accidentally fish up like a dynamic event that, and I think I made the joke of, it would be great if we were all on like along the shore fishing or something like that, and all of a sudden a tentacle comes out and hits my friend in the face, and it's like he just hooked a sea creature from the below, and now we have to fight this thing. Like, what the heck? Like, now granted, they haven't promised any of that or anything like that. I don't believe. But yeah, I think that was one thing that we were kind of talking about way back.
Yeah.
This was before any of these announcements or anything, but
yeah.
So I just want to jump in real quick. Zach made a comment. He thinks fishing will be interactive, but maybe gives you leniency if you want a passive experience. So they did say that fishing, they wanted to make it different than just sitting there in AFK doing it, more interactive. They did say that, but I don't think they can give a more passive experience for players who want that, because if they do, the criticism will be like, well, you don't even have to do those things. It's just passive. Like,
though, I mean, isn't that always been the problem with like their reward system of like, basically a lot of people calculate you can lose your way in PvP to top cosmetic. So, I mean, that's not out of the realm of past Guild Wars 2 stuff. I mean, like I said, I wish it would be more like interactive or engaging, but not just like a whack-a-mole, like the bar pops up, so hit 4 real quick or so like. But and I saw you were already replying to chat about the, you know, don't see anything wrong with giving the player what they want. Yes, but my worry is we've seen that with MMOs of this looks like what players want and this is what they've always clamored for, and then when it comes out, it's not what they really wanted. I mean,
or like people are like, this would be really cool, but once they get it, even if it's exactly how they were saying they want it, there isn't the engagement on that thing to back it up.
Yes.
Second verse, same of the first. Hashtag poor Wildstar. You're right, Zach. They didn't let us down with mounts.
And that's why I said I balanced it out with, yes, they have done good things with it, but also they kind of let down the player base with raids.
But I literally don't know any implementation of fishing that isn't either I set my character on a shoreline, click a button, and my character just goes into a fishing loop, and until my inventory fills up with fish and or garbage I've fished out of the water. Or it's like World of Warcraft where I cast and then I have to right click the bobber after a certain
Final Fantasy 15.
What's
Final Fantasy 15?
I was gonna say, I think I know
what's like literally
previous weeks were saying New World might have a pretty good one. I haven't tried it.
Yeah, I
so
haven't
don't
tried it.
know if
I don't
someone
know.
out there has or okay, yeah.
But
And
the way
as
it works
we're
in
talking
Final
about,
Fantasy 15 is like you have to get special kind of string or fishing line, whatever, depending on what kind of fish you're fishing, because different weights, it wears away over time. But the actual and different baits track different fish. They don't have to go into that detail, I don't think. What makes it really fun is that you cast your line. First of all, you pick where you're throwing it. You want to throw it towards where certain fish that looks like the shape of the fish that you want to catch is. You throw it to that area, you move it around or leave it still, depending on, again, the kind of fish, because some fish like things that are just like hanging there, and some things need things to move around to get them to bite. So you do what you need to do to entice them. There's a little bit of a learning curve there, depending on what kind of fish you're trying to catch. And then as you're reeling it in, you have to like let it out, pull it in, go to the left, go to the right at certain times. If you do it wrong, you'll break your line. If you do it right, though, it's a lot of fun and it's really engaging. Like, it's the first fishing in a game I came across where I really, really enjoyed it and actually saw out doing more fishing, because traditionally I hate fishing.
Meanwhile, Gift talking about the Stardew Valley approach to fishing. There's a meter where you have to like tap. You tap A and like you just have to keep the indicator in a floating like gauge.
I think YS8 did that. YS8 did that too.
Oh, East. Okay.
Yeah.
God,
yeah,
that
it was
series
similar.
is so old.
I know.
Real
It's a
question.
similar kind of idea. Like, even if it's something as simple as that, I would be fine with that. I don't want it to be as passive as like WoW's is, where literally you throw it in, you wait until the exact right moment, and then you click. Like, that's just boring and annoying at the same time.
Yeah, and like Chat's saying it, like, because they did refer to fishing as a mastery, so maybe as you put more mastery points into it, you can maybe get better fish or better chance at whatever the
Better
mechanic
equipment,
is.
Yeah, I'm sure some part of mastery will be that you make use of your materials better, you like can catch better things, but I feel like there needs to be some kind of thing happening on there and you reacting to it to keep it
Yes.
interesting. Otherwise, it's just going to be like boring really quick.
Yeah.
But the real question is, will there be an animation afterwards when you catch it and you're like holding it up like a lot of games do?
I hope so. Because,
No, if
because that was the other thing Final Fantasy 15 did. Because like you catch the fish and like, especially when you catch a big one, all the boys are holding it. And you're like, yeah, it's
though,
cool.
if it's using the same tech as some of the other things you pick up and hold, is it going to be like what is the char area where you're collecting chickens, where it looks like a chicken on every other character? When you pick up a Norn, it looks like you're holding a turkey. So is the meta going to be Norn so I can get bigger fish?
Yes.
Like I'll basically fish up with a Norn and it'll be like a whale.
Yep.
Well, I think we've pretty much exhausted. Do you have any comments on skiffs?
Boats.
I mean, yeah, I like that it's it's going to be an entity that can hold other people. They said you could like be on the, so that's cool, or that you could even do that. I would like, if that's the case, I would even like to see like an area maybe in Cantha where it's a little bit more dangerous waters, where I want to be on the boat and be like, I'm weaving, like I'm like, you guys have your fishing rods in there and I'm trying to weave things and keep it moving. And
okay,
I just want to throw it on because it just occurred to me when we were talking about skiffs. It'd be really cool if the way they did it was not the person who put out the skiff automatically controls where it goes, but like you had to click onto something to have navigational control.
God.
So then like you could be riding on your friends, you get to a place and then somebody else can hop in and like drive it around.
Yoink your skiff.
That would be really funny. Like somebody else in your party. Like I don't think anybody in the world should be able to, but like,
come on.
So,
let that be a bug for the first beta when they test it. Like someone sneak on someone's skiff and just be like,
yeah.
So
I mean,
ZeKrioX,
who in a game would steal someone and take them to another town? That would just be horrible and mean, and
Dayo.
no one would ever do that. What? It was an accident.
You can't
Don't
just
AFK fish.
You can't just accidentally abduct people.
Yes, you can when they glitch onto your ship in BDO. And you're like, well, I could drop them in the water or take them to another town when they return and be totally confused.
But ZeKrioX brought up a world boss on skiffs, and I was actually thinking when you talked about like fishing up an event, just imagine like a whole slew of players like swooping into this giant open body of water, anchoring their skiffs, and like everybody has to like maneuver to make sure there's enough space for people to stand and actually fight the boss that comes up out of the water.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like I think we're moving too far down the like BDO route because these are skiffs. They're probably not gonna. I mean, it'd be cool if like we had to use our actual weapons or something.
Well, that's the thing. Is they say
maybe use our actual weapons, but not like I don't know. When I think Armada, I'm thinking like people on like shooting cannons and stuff like that. And
no, I'm imagining entirely just like player. Well, I mean, come on, Dayo. Like an elementalist with the staff is a cannon.
No, because then I'm never gonna get my cannon spec we talked about earlier.
You just run around with a Charzuka on a warrior. You'll feel fine.
It hurt me.
I'm sorry. But other than that, like the thing is, like they showed the skiffs. So, you know, we've basically got something that's skimmer adjacent. It's a multi-person mount, which seems to be a theme right now. I'm currently wondering what the hell else we're going to get for the skiff as a mastery track. Because I figure we're going to see at least 4 points for the release masteries. Maybe 5.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a mastery track, along with fishing. So what else are they going to be able to give us that's like a mastery for a skiff?
Probably, I would imagine one of them would have to be like something related to speed or like what kind of body waters you can put it in.
Yeah, like the treacherous, like dealing with waves. Honestly, I'm thinking if there is a limitation to seats, or if there is a such thing, or it just like locks people into like some kind of like the model wise, like into a box that they will move with it type thing, and not like be like sit in the seat, so it carries it all as one entity. I think more, if there is a such thing as more seats or a bigger boat, I mean, I think no one's gonna be surprised by this, but I think that's a gem store thing.
I don't think we're going to see more people on the boat. I think it's going to be the maximum capacity is going to be available from the start, personally. Because otherwise it really can't own up to the promises that they've made, like go fishing with your friends. So I'm fully expecting at most 5 seats. Like a full party can fit on a skimmer. That's what I'm expecting.
Need to find another skiff for the aquatic raid. That's no, because you just need 5 more people or 1 skiff.
Just 1 more skiff of people.
Yeah.
The boat has a health bar. I mean, it's probably going to be treated like a mount. I mean, I can only expect that they only felt comfortable doing something like this once they had a lot of experience with mounts under their belts.
Now, what's the ruling on the skiff disappearing? So if I want to troll my friends while they're in the middle of fishing, can I plop them into water by making my skiff disappear?
Probably.
That would be hilarious. Pack up your little folding boat and everybody falls in the water.
Taking my boat and going home.
And that's like chat's saying, do we know if the boat can get attacked? And yeah, that's yeah, loads of questions that hopefully, I mean, they said the announcement last week was just a first look. They're going to be talking more in depth about things, which hopefully that'll be some of these answers.
Log out.
Yeah, log out. The boat disappear. Yeah, exactly. It's.
I mean, if it's an entity tied to the player, there are no entities tied to a player that exist when your player isn't there. Like, a ranger pet doesn't just stand around when the ranger logs out. So.
It doesn't. I like to think that it goes like, when's my master coming back? When's he reappearing from the mist?
Yeah.
Aww.
Kind of like Futurama with the dog.
Oh God! Stop!
No.
Stop.
too soon. Anyway, we're gonna move on from that. I mean, the next step on this is talking about the Dragon Jade and Yao, but you said you really don't have much input there because you weren't a huge fan of the faction's story. Past
Well,
that.
I mean,
unless you have any
Yao's-
further. Yao is cool,
Yao's-
personally.
Yeah, I was gonna say Yao isn't any like indicative of the Guild Wars 1 story, but I was always curious about, especially when they started referring to it as Dragon Jade, because I mean, I think in Guild Wars 1 they only referred to it as Jade because of the Jade Wind from Shiro getting stabbed, which was a setup from one of Abaddon's lieutenants was the fortune teller. If you ever go back to play the game or listen to or watch the cinematics, they do like kind of history on that, like giving you the backstory of Shiro since he was returned, like when he was still a guard for the Emperor. They were walking through one of the Canthan streets or whatever, and like a fortune teller basically planted that thought into his head that, you know, once again made all these put all these motions into or put all these events into motion type thing. And I'm wondering if that goes back to like the story thing of afterwards, you know, we see maybe the mother, which is like ultimate dragon magic versus what's left of Abaddon, that kind of magic of like the human magic or whatever competing with the dragon magic of that whole like yin and yang balance thing. Because I'm wondering if the magic that Shiro released, if that was human-based magic or non-dragon magic or tainted magic that the dragons want to consume to cleanse or whatever, since we know they secrete it. If it turned the water, I mean, we do know that's where kind of Bubbles is located. I wonder if that was the reason why the water turned into Jade, was because that was the area where we now know Bubbles resides. Maybe that water specifically. And I mean, yes, the Echo Vault Forest turned to stone, which could be based off of the, you know, Morgemoth, the element of Morgemoth. And so it's like why did those places...
I was just gonna say, are you thinking like because Bubbles was there and it was exuding off magic, the water was kind of like infused with it, so when it hit his magic, it had that reaction kind of?
Yeah, like I wonder if that was what, especially now that they're referring to it as Dragon Jade magic, like it's definitely combining two, whereas like I said, I think in Guild Wars 1 it was just referred to as Jade. And chat saying, given they went with Jade, weird how much they are focusing on Luxon related things as opposed to Curse. Yeah, I mean, so far at least. I mean, we still have 2 masteries. We don't know where that's...
Yep. And who
really
knows how
go.
many more maps.
There's a lot of people assuming that Dragon Jade tech is going to be involved in one of the masteries.
That would be cool. There's some room for that. That'd be really cool.
But that's a wild speculation because like we've got 5 starter masteries. We know 3.
Don't the masteries usually align with maps? Like usually
they did in Hot, POF.
Well, the
POF was more surrounded by the mounts, which kind of happened in each of the different zones.
You ran into one in each one. So
yeah.
If they keep that up, that would be that we have 5 maps to start with again.
Ish. Yeah. Because we started with what was it? Gliding, mushrooms. No, the mushrooms were
holes.
Mushrooms.
Yeah, bouncing mushrooms, hole, whatever the.
Yeah, but it was like
burrows.
Gliding, and then the new hawk.
And then the other guys.
And then the other frogs, and then there was some other like
Itzel. Poor Itzel.
Itzel, yeah.
And the mushrooms.
And then there was who were the people in AB Auric Basin?
The Exalted.
Yeah.
I was gonna say poor Exalted. Forgetting about them.
I didn't forget about them. I just forget what they were called. But I don't know if it's really indicative as to how many maps we'll have. But But then I think the final thing, and this is the stuff we had to lightning around because Arlie had to leave, and we're actually getting to a point where we're pushing an hour and a half stream, so Arlie will have to leave. So the last three things is we have strike missions, Gen 3 legendaries, and the new guild hall. So Dayo, what you thinking?
So which one do you want me to start with? You said
Strikes, Gen 3 legendaries, guild hall are the three things.
I mean, hopefully they can pull off what they're saying was, I mean, the little bit they said was strikes. I mean, I do like, and I think this was specific with strike missions where they were saying if you encounter something that's like a normal style character, they'll have one skill set, veteran will have a second, like, and so on and so forth. So
well, I think they said
that or was that across the board?
That's across the board for End of Dragons. Is if you see, say, an Inquest and then a veteran version with the same name, it has different abilities, and then it layers I'm assuming all the way up to legendary. So if we see a legendary Inquest
because I know they
enemy,
were saying that during the strike portion, so I wasn't sure if that was strictly strike mission, but at least that's a good consistency. Like I kind of said earlier, they were saying, the challenge modes or challenge modes, which they already said weren't going to be there at launch.
Well,
so I don't know how the rating group would.
I think they said it would be available like a month or two into launch, but every single launch strike.
Did they confirm that? Because I know they said,
yes.
I think throughout that stream they were just saying would not be there at launch. So I don't know if they
they basically alluded to the fact that they were going to keep the challenge modes locked for a brief period of time, period of time, so that people could focus on the regular version of the strike, and then do the challenge mode.
Okay.
Which I would assume would let them do the thing where it's not bugged, so that then the challenge modes can happen. But
yeah, and hopefully they do pull it off to be super at the challenge that people are expecting for raid type stuff, which I am a little hopeful for that one, just because I feel like they did find a good balance with the fractal that was kind of nodding to that. I think they did a pretty good job at elevating the challenge modes with that one.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, which was their most recent one, which was even teasing some of the Cantha artwork and assets. So hopefully that's but that's always my ultimate worry, and I talked about that earlier, was every time a dev across the board, not just ArenaNet, kind of issues that challenge of this will be challenging. Oh wait, they already beat it.
Yeah.
I was a little worried when they were saying that, oh, this is gonna be the challenge that the community is expecting. I'm like, no,
that's the one thing that I always get confused by, is that players will always outstrip the ability of any given development team to produce content.
Yep.
Which is another reason why I'm really confused as to why people just are permanently online and grind through content and then complain about not having content to do.
Yes. All the time.
It's you can't inhale your food then complain that you no longer have food.
I mean, you can.
Doesn't mean it makes sense.
Yes.
But
tell that to a hobbit.
Well, that's why they have second breakfast
and lunch. Anyway, what are your guys' thoughts on the strike / do you think this is gonna suffice to the raid community of Guild Wars 2?
No.
Because I'm not even gonna say, I feel like with HOT, that was the attempt to bring in raiders from other games, and I think that's where it kind of fell flat on their face. But the raiding community of Guild Wars 2, do you think they'll be okay with it? I'm sure they'll, like you said, outpace it, but that's to be expected.
I think some will, but I think there will be a vocal group that will be very unhappy with it, because it's really not the same thing.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest problem with raiding anymore in an MMORPG, is that there's a certain level of expectation with it, and it honestly, I feel like World of Warcraft specifically has created a very toxic environment around the word raiding in an MMORPG standpoint, because you need to have X and Y and Z, and there's always another gate that people start applying, and then it becomes common knowledge. Like in World of Warcraft, it was gear score. You had to have a certain gear score to be allowed in a raid, and like you're asking for a gear score above and beyond anything that would drop from that raid. So basically, you just want someone to carry you. It's like, I'm not looking to join your raid just to do it this week. I'm looking to get gear.
If we want to carry that mentality over, I would not mind being carried through some raid. No, kidding.
Granted, we don't have as much of that issue in Guild Wars 2 because we don't have to deal with the gear treadmill. But at the same time, it's like, you have to have however many of these legendary insights. And I'm just like...
Yeah, how do you get on that ladder if you don't let them on the ladder?
It's like, one, I can fake that. Because everybody knows exactly how to... like, it's not that hard to fake an item code. So I can link you a stack of 250 legendary insights. Are you going to ask me to hop in your Discord and send a screenshot too?
Yes.
Well, now they will.
But I think that's been the biggest problem with raiding in Guild Wars 2 is the mentality around it brought in from other games. So if they would have started with strike missions, I think it probably would have been better. And then if they would have called it like a strike chain or something, and just have like these boss fights go in an order where it's like there's a logical progression to story here, which is go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, kind of talking about that, and like you made me think about referring to the raids that we got in HOT as like strike chains. Is like, I think that's the other thing that makes me worried when they were talking about it. They talked a little bit really quickly about they also were going to make it rewarding. I'm like, yeah, not the greatest track record of making certain content rewarding. But which raises the question, do you think they'll make a legendary set or make a legendaries obtainable, like a legendary armor obtainable through these strike missions that maybe say do this challenge mode?
I don't think we'll see another set of legendary armor like that again.
Yeah.
Other than,
so do you think you'll be able to get like the legendary or whatever, like the tokens or whatever that you would need from that?
The legendary armor is going to be enshrined in the Heart of Thorns and Path of Fire rating, and that's just going to be where it stays.
Yeah.
Like I can't see it coming back into the game in any way other than you can turn a piece of ascended gear into a piece of legendary gear, and maybe they'll add legendary.
You think you'd be able to make it? You might be able to make ascended gear legendary status, just not the visual.
Yeah, they might add another set of legendary armor, like for each weight class going on into the future. Maybe. But they're not going to give us a different way to get the first set other than what's already there.
But I guess my question was, it's fine. I'd be fine with them locking the visuals, but if you were not able to somehow get legendary status quality where you could theoretically switch out the stats and whatnot from that, or some way to get it, I was like, I can't imagine you coming up with a way to make it rewarding enough for people to do it. Especially because they said this whole expansion, they're really trying to make it so replayability, so you could play it for years to come. I remember Colin saying that. So it's like,
to be fair, Guild Wars 2 is probably one of the best replayability games, in my personal opinion. Like, people still flock to Auric Basin to do the meta there, so, and that's been how many years since Heart of Thorns came out? But I don't know, we'll have to see what the strikes look like. I think they need
armor exclusive to fishing.
I think they absolutely need a better LFG system, possibly something akin to World of Warcraft's LFG system for strikes at least.
Yeah.
So,
although, I mean, well, no, I'm thinking the dragon missions where you go in and you can do the public version and it'll pair you with people.
I could even see having access to that via a menu too for the dragon response minions. missions.
Well, like, I like the way it does it for Dragon Response missions because, like, I don't have to wait for a pop.
I was gonna
I can
say it
just
just
go
naturally.
in and then fills with people.
Yep.
So I kind of prefer that.
But other than that, hoping that the strikes are good. I think that's what we've got here, and we don't know what the rewards are going to be like. So, yeah. Now the next topic will be the legendary weapons. Oh, that was a face.
I mean, you mean the nice fancy Black Lion skin set? Like, you know, it's great that they're saying, hey, we're getting this one out at launch. It's like, yeah, because you're really just making a set. Like, you're not, like, I don't know. I like the idea of the legendaries when they all had their little backstory, like a legendary weapon forged, you know, used in a certain way that made it legendary. This is just falling off of Areen's side rib or something. Like,
Well, to be fair, I don't know what the fuck is going on with Exordium.
Right.
Like, we haven't had an explanation for legendary weapons since Chuka and Chompawat. Every other legendary, we have lore and plot progression. I'm making Exordium, and it's just throw materials at my crafting window.
which one's Exordium?
The shape-changing greatsword.
Yeah.
The Gen 2 greatsword.
See, I don't even remember how.
Exactly.
Like, I don't know. I kind of
Like,
well, but I think that's the like I don't. It always felt like there was felt like there should have been a story behind them, and they just were. The first set that just never kind of really happened.
yeah.
They did it for some of the ones in the Gen 2. It's just, yeah, I think since the beginning it was a big undertaking, and it was definitely felt like it wasn't achievable for Hot, like bringing them out.
Well,
And
when you were still in this square, when they introduced the new legendary crafting for Gen 2 after Chuka and Chompawat, I remember saying, is like, I'm really annoyed at the people who were like, why don't we have all of our Gen 2 legendaries yet? It's just like, because they have to write up a story and a quest chain for every single legendary to make it make sense. Otherwise, you're going to get boring legendaries. And they're like, I can't remember the name of the hammer for Gen 2, but it's from ore. Like, your footsteps are coral.
Yeah, it looked cool. And I mean, maybe I'm splitting like hairs of the, like, I see chat referring to it as like it feels quite lazy. I don't want to use the word lazy because it seeing some of the art of it, it looks like they definitely put detail into it. I think it was a design decision so they could get legendary they could use that as a feature list. Third generation of third gen legendaries. Would I go after those ones? Maybe one or two if it fits a thing, but to collect the set, like I would prefer some of the other ones.
Have you ever wanted to collect the set of the previous generation of legendaries though?
Well, I never felt like they were a set.
They were though. Like they're all the same like style of how you
well, they came out during a certain time frame, but I felt that was meta from the game, like outside the game realm, because I felt like they should have had their unique stories.
At this point, they're Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 3. They're all sets, whether they look alike or not.
So
yeah, but I wouldn't. I still wouldn't categorize them as a set in that in an in-game set.
They are not a visual set. They are a logical set.
Yeah, that helps you understand, okay, Gen 1s came from Core, Gen 2s came from, you know, Hot / POF. Gen 3s are coming from Eye of the North, wow. End of Dragons.
Gotta get that Eye of the North expansion.
Yeah.
So, the one thing that I've seen a lot of people reference is Wooden Potato's video about the legendaries. And one of the things he references is, well, they could keep coming out with like one-off by looks legendary weapons, but how many times does a legendary weapon come out and you look at it and like, I have no characters that would use that? Or you look at a character who's like, I want a main hand sword and an offhand whatever, but I don't want two legendaries because they don't look like they fit together. So like you're running with Bolt and like the Binding of Epos or something.
That's actually why I transmog the look of my focus.
Yeah. So now we're getting a whole set, and somebody can be like, oh, well, I can get the sword and the shield, and they're going to look the same, and they're also both legendaries. And it also means that they're getting the exact same amount of effort into it as a Black Lion ticket set, because I know that's the one, like Dayo, you made that comparison. A lot of other people have made that comparison. We're getting a whole set of legendaries, and they're not going to have to really change the crafting process all that much for each individual one.
I think my biggest question about it is, are all the footfalls going to look exactly the same?
Probably.
Yeah, probably. But it would be kind of nice if they were a little different somehow, you know?
Problem is, like, how do you change that to be meaningful with the footfall effect?
Yeah.
So, given stuff can be skinned, how much does set cohesiveness matter?
And that was going to be my point. And that's why I'm also like, while I probably wouldn't go after them unless I like the look of that skin in particular, because I'm fine with remapping. The reason I'm getting a legendary is if the skin looks cool, sure. But the reason I want it is for the stat swapping.
Yeah.
Like, because like I said, I like while the binding of EPOS looks cool, there's at some point focus? It's going to look cool in a certain, I was gonna say at some point it's going back to Ambrosia. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But it's so while it wouldn't affect me, I am happy that there is that option for people that want to stay. I visualize that the people that want to be walking around Tyrion going, they definitely have the legendaries. Like visually, you can see that.
Right.
Now,
but I don't mind being like, oh look, he's got a stupid tankard. Oh, he just hit me with legendary stats because that's the legendary tankard.
You really just want like footfalls of beer foam, don't you?
I mean, Aina, if you want to, like, I mean, if they're making a legendary set of all beer themed legendaries, then okay. I mean, we're finding more reasons to get me back.
So the other thing that Wooden Potatoes brought up, and this could just be the wonkiness with the way the marketing for this is the announce page says something about legendary sets. So people are assuming that means that we might see another set, much like we see multiple Black Lion ticket sets further on down the line. Now, if we're looking at the way the crafting, like we've got the boring crafting with the rest of Gen 2, we've got basically the same, slightly larger amount of effort placed into these in comparison to a Black Lion ticket set, and they can churn out how many Black Lion ticket sets do we get in a year, right? We get 5, 6, 7, maybe more. So they just add a draw effect, different particles, footfalls. They could probably do a new legendary set every year and a half ish. And it wouldn't even be all that crazy with the new crafting process, which I die inside every time I think about making a new legendary like that. But do you think they might be throwing new legendary sets at us, like after the fact, like multiple new legendary weapon sets? You don't say.
I could see it happening, but not like a yearly thing, like very rarely, because I don't think I would hope they wouldn't want to oversaturate the legendary.
Well, it's not like they can oversaturate the market because everything after Gen 1 is account bound on acquire.
Yeah, but I just mean the acquisition, because then at that point, you are just making sets, because if you're going kind of using what you guys were saying is logic of you wanted weapons to match type thing, then it is definitely going to feel like just fancy Black Lion skins, because then you're going to be like, okay, well this character, the sword and shield works great on this one, and then I'm going to get then you're already piecemealing a legendary set together. Then we're back to what we were talking about originally. It's just you got to choose.
Yeah.
So it's if they do that, I hope it's not like a yearly thing. If they do it, it's maybe one or whenever the next living story, or like make it a rarity type thing, not a yearly thing.
So finally, because now I have to get going. Guildhall, do you have any comments on that? I don't even remember where they said it was.
What was it? Xingji Monastery?
Sounds right.
They wanted to make it thematic because I know they said it was the place where you actually defeated the person. Where I was talking about the not White Mantle. Wow.
Ministry of Purity?
Ministry of Purity. I think that was in the monastery area or something like that. But and they did say there was more water to it, so you could do like, party boat skiff things. I was a little annoyed that they were like the arena's now like bigger in that one, because a lot of stuff I was looking at like trying to do like little events at one point, and the arena for the other ones are so small, which made me remember how when people were saying how small was it the Owl Reflection? Okay, yeah, chat. If chat knows, I know they said that that's wherever it was you defeated the person for the Ministry of Purity, but I remember when they first announced guild halls and people were saying how small the arenas looked, and I remember Colin was saying, "Oh, we were thinking of, we have to look at like physical things like server cost and all that, like, would it slow down the game and all that stuff of actually having an additional bigger scale arena that people could kind of play." And I was like, "Oh, that'd be so cool because you could do more room for activities." But yeah, when they said the arena was a little bit bigger, I was like, "Oh, so if you actually want to use that creatively like that, you have to do that one." I was like, "What if you like one of the other themed ones? Why couldn't they go with that other idea that they had of making it like an upgrade of like a bigger separate spot that you could, do that?" So I was a little disappointed hearing that. I mean, but other than that, if it's what you like if you like the look of it, I mean, go for it. It looked like a nice little, lots of water and stuff like that, which, yeah, if you're planning on being a boat or a skiffing guild, probably good for that. Otherwise, probably a little worrisome because you're gonna have to use a lot of decoration for platforms and stuff like that.
Yeah.
If that's the case.
But I think finally I have to pose the final question: is Dayo, at the moment, from what you know of End of Dragons, is this making you interested in coming back?
Leading up to all this, and I said this before, I was not planning on paying for the expansion or anything like that. At this point, I am basically like, I would probably get it mainly for just, like I said, I don't know if it was a trick of them, like hearing Colin and Ruby and everybody, all the people I've been hearing over the years talking about how this is like the culmination of the story. And I'm like, I mean, I gotta be here for that, right? Like, I mean, but that's my problem is I would only be there for the story. I probably wouldn't be running maps over and over and over again. It would just be going through the story, kind of like what I was doing with the end of
Iceberg Saga.
The Iceberg Saga, which I feel like they did us dirty. They spent time. Zaitan felt like the human thing, and they spent time with that. Let that thing fester.
You didn't get enough Norn in your Norn centric stuff.
Yeah, our Norn centric story, half of it, it felt more like than half, went to the freaking Char. We had to share our story with them, and yeah, like I said, Hot was all Sylvaria, and it was a cool way to do it because we couldn't trust them type thing. And then we got this. I was like, it's Norn's time. Oh, and Char. Okay,
it's
well,
Char
we can share the time. Maybe it's going to be a longer thing. Oh, it's already over. Yeah. And now we're going back to what feels like human centric, and it's going to wrap it all up. I'm like, so I'm a little annoyed by that, but it's just like, yeah, I kind of want to, from someone that played Guild Wars 1 to Guild Wars 2, I want to learn about the cycle. Hopefully those answers are there, which they're kind of saying it's going to tie up all these loose ends. It's Cries in Asuran. Yeah, actually.
What's an Asura?
Yeah, you guys. Yeah, because to be fair, Primordus was more Asuran than I would say Char, but not in this case.
Yeah.
Um,
But I hate to
but yeah.
rush. But
No,
Yeah.
I was gonna say at this
your
point I
answer
would probably get it
currently
close
is
to launch
okay.
if not late, like later. At this point, I didn't throw money at it right now, even
Your
though I
answer
probably will get
is
it at launch because I'm a sucker for
yeah.
skins and I don't want to miss them.
So your answer is I'll play at least for the story. Nothing yet has grabbed you and made you
Yeah,
say I'll keep playing.
I feel like to use a old cliche statement, I still feel like with them talking about Cantha, fishing, it feels a bit jumping the shark.
Hmm.
We've had some pretty big sharks in this game, so
And now we can jump in with the skiff.
champion megalodon down in ore. Anyway, so that means it's time for outros, which means Arlie, where can they find you?
At Arlie82 on not on Twitter and Instagram.
Yay! And Dayo, where can they find you?
You can find me at simply_Dayo on Twitter, like Arlie was saying, and also Twitch, like she was about to say. But I'm hopefully planning, if you're watching us live, hopefully going to plan on trying to stream like later. I'm probably going to go get food and then probably stream some later, but it'll probably be Warframe. Definitely want to get some stuff before things shift over on Tuesday.
Well, there you go.
Gotta get my farm on. But
Awesome.
yeah, fun.
Awesome. Now, finally, you can find my dumb face on Twitter at MalThanisMMO. Talking Skritt is live every Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Channel is also live Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. Tuesday, me and Arlie have been replaying the Living Story. And then Thursdays has been random stuff. I've been doing farming for legendaries at this point, which I've ended my friendship with Exordium and have moved on to making the Bifrost because I already have the legend, so I'll go with that. But we hope to see you all Tuesday and Thursday and next Saturday. I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and we will catch you next time. Good evening, friends.
Bye.